Hello, dear listeners. Coming at you from the top to let you know that I made an uh-oh in the previous episode and episodes prior to that even. You heard that our email address changed for any correspondence you might want to send to us. Oops, that was wrong. It's contact@MetalGearMondays. Always has been, always will be. So sorry for the confusion. That's all. Enjoy the episode.
Here's to you, dear listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Metal Gear Mondays Revengeance, where you'll find your favorite conversations around Metal Gear and Kojima-related content delivered to you through tactical podcast action. This is our second episode, story-focused, for Metal Gear Portable Ops. Now, I'm not going to do this alone. With me, I have Mega Mouth Shark, my recruit, Tori Cortez. What's up?
How does that rank? Is that pretty...
There's a couple A's in there. It's pretty good.
Yeah?
I would think so.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I would
I
hope
think he was
you
good
wouldn't...
with carrying people. He had the carrying stats, and I think he had high health.
Okay.
Something like that.
I can
So it's
dig
pretty
that.
good.
Yeah. All
I
right.
just can't get over that name. I really can't.
Well, thank you so much for gifting it to me for this episode.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not going to take it. Come on. Now, you may be recognizing that we're missing a voice. So Chris is going to be on special assignment. He's doing some intel work for us, and we will let you know when he has gathered said intel so that we can have him back on the pod. The good news is everything's okay. He's totally fine and healthy, so we wish him well, but he'll be back, I promise.
Yeah, Chris just got some personal stuff going on in his life, so he needs to take a minute, and we're here to fill in, so to give him that time he needs.
Yeah, we played this game, so we're going to talk about it. I'm not waiting.
Damn it. Whether Chris is here or not.
Exactly. Chris can't hold us back. He might try in some weird way that he would find totally justified. But we will win the day. So before we move in, if it's okay with you, let's do this random patron shout out, and then we'll chat up before we start with the story.
Oh, I'd love to. Per usual.
All right, let's do it.
This week, we have... Oh man, this week it's Tyler W. What?
Hey. Tyler, you guys would actually recognize, he was just on the trivia episode, and if you are in the Discord, he'd certainly, I see his name everywhere, I think.
Hell yeah. Even though it's
plenty to say.
Changing a lot lately, his Discord name, I always have to keep up. I'll start to tag him or just read something from his updated name and go, who the hell is that?
Oh man, he has got Ichiban, so I know exactly who he is. He is the reason why I started paying attention to my wife playing Yakuza games. So, Tyler's name comes up between conversations with my wife a lot because he's been constantly playing Yakuza games since Like a Dragon.
That's right. I remember you saying that. And I just realized, yeah, his pictures never changed. So, never mind I said that, Tyler. I always know who you are. Always. But
in the most motherly sense, not in a assassin way.
No, in a creepy way, Tyler. I always know where you're at.
Oh boy.
But in all
Sorry,
seriousness, Tyler has been with us since October of 2019 and has been a real integral part of our community as of late. So Tyler, thanks for sticking around with us, and thanks for bringing all the life to the community that you do, and thanks for being on our trivia episode.
Yeah, man. Yeah, when he said that he was been around for a year as a patron when we did the trivia ep, I was like, really?
Yeah.
It just seemed so short.
Well,
I was there's so many vocal people that are talking they've been around for 10 years, and they're like, yeah, I just got into the pod a year ago.
Well, let's face it, Warren. 2020 was a total vacuum.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, time is a flat circle.
Right? Who knows how long 2020 really even was? Is 2020 even over? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we, without getting on my political soapbox, I don't know if 2020's ended technically, and I won't make that a whole point of this show.
We won't go very far into that, huh?
Holy shit! Oh my god, man! Luckily, I gotta say, luckily I have had some video games to play. And like I said, when we get through this ep, I do think, I still think, like we talked about last episode, I do think the story is what's keeping this moving forward. Like, I still don't feel, like you're going to hear a little bit about it on this episode. I don't know if I like how this game is paced overall. And I know we mentioned that a little bit last ep, but like, again, we're in our second episode and we're still not going to talk about a boss fight. Spoiler alert for this episode, guys. It didn't feel right as far as how much time for gameplay. We really want to try to keep these pretty succinct and not have what was our Sorrow episode? Like almost 3 hours long.
Oh, that one was at least 2, maybe even 2.5, I think.
Yeah.
It was like, a long one.
It's not that we don't want to do that. It just, why, when we could have made that like it's like a nice tight episode with like real pieces, like it did make for fun content because Chris was playing the game live with us because he was behind a little bit, but like still, I don't know, it just felt, I didn't like that we had to fit, like, because what do we say? We wanted to do like from boss to boss, right? So we tried to like fill the gameplay from boss to boss, and it just, I don't know, it felt paced, like story-wise it felt good, but conversation-wise I was like, damn, there's a lot. Because that's when Grozny Grad gets introduced. Like, there's a lot of shit in that section of the game.
Well, 2 things. I kind of liked that we had a little bit of a change up in our format. I think, don't get me wrong, I think our format works, and I think the structure that we have for the show is working out for us. I guess we can't really be the judge of that. What I mean to say is, I actually thought it was kind of cool that we had an episode where Chris was playing as we were talking, and we did, Warren, if you recall, get some real-time insights into how Chris played the game, and it made for a really fun conversation.
Oh yeah, especially unfortunately because we could see him, so we could see his like literal reactions to everything.
It was a good time.
You know what? It did make for good content. I wouldn't want to put someone through that every game that we play.
Oh,
I guess,
sure,
just
for
because
sure. And this will be,
there could be moments because you could tell he was like on his second fight of the Fury.
Oh yeah.
And was like, I hate this boss. I hate everything about this game. Metal Gear sucks. You know what I mean? Like,
everybody gets to that point. Yeah. Let's be honest. I think everybody who loves Metal Gear has said, "Fuck, I hate this game" at one point or another.
I can agree to that.
But yeah, to that end, I also want to mention that I think, like you said, Warren, this is going to be different, and it's going to be not paced as well, but I do think Portable Ops has a lot of merits, and I think it is worthwhile as a game to discuss, and hopefully all of you listeners agree with us, because we're gonna dive in and talk about why it did or did not work for us.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Because that's the thing. I played this game. I'm going to talk about it. That's where I'm at right now. I did the homework. And there's stuff I like. So why don't we get into the stuff we like?
Let's do it.
So let's get to some story bits here for Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. With Supply Depot, so let's see. We ended our last episode where we knew that we were going to have to cross the ravine. There's a river just east of where we are located, and the only way to get the truck and all the stuff we need across from the hospital and all the supplies is that we have to cross the bridge. And the rail bridge has, I don't know if we actually went into it in enough detail at the end of the episode.
I don't think so.
Now that I think about it. But the rail bridge itself, pretty cool map, I will say that. I actually appreciated, there was like, it felt very like Border Patrol-y, so it had like 2 buildings on either side of like every corner of the bridge that you could like sneak in, check out, and then the bridge itself had multiple vehicles to sort of block your path. So even if you were sneaky, you still can't physically get the truck through. Mm-hmm. So it like, you know, it was actually like pretty tangible design. It's not just like a fence that you could clearly jump over like in other games where it's like, yay, sorry, you can't go over here because we said. You know, even though you could clearly climb that tiny little rock or whatever it is.
Right.
This felt really tangible. So I appreciate that. I was like, okay. And you can gather intel there. There's some stuff there where I didn't realize it the first time I went through it, but you can actually find stuff in this area to sort of let you know where you have to go, because the plan now is, well, why don't we thin the herd? And why don't we sort of ruffle the feathers across the entire base? If we sort of drop some explosives or, cause a racket at certain areas on the map, they're going to have to send reinforcements, and this is their hub. So they're going to leave the border to head over there. So the bridge would slowly empty more and more and more. And if you play around over there, you'll actually find there are, 3 or 4 places that are worth going to. One of them is the supply depot. So this is where maybe we don't get so positive, because we were just laughing about this off mic. Man, are these maps starting to look the same. The design themselves, I will give them credit, and I make it a point to have at least a line for every map that we talk about, because you can clearly tell that they are trying to, the rail bridge doesn't feel like the hospital. It doesn't feel like the supply depot. It doesn't feel like the research base. There's long hallways, there's verticality, whether it's ramps and, stairs, things like that. Guards with windows, they can see you from across, there's a lot of stuff that makes it unique. Just the color palette. There's 5 colors in this game.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to go back, you won't actually know where you are until you read the opening line of all right, Snake, we're going to go to the supply base. It's a bummer to if you want to do some recon, it's tough. I see why the game was designed to sort of, we mocked it last episode, sorry. But the constant, every time you make a choice, they tell you, all right, remember that choice you made? Okay, let's get started. All right, that choice you made is this. Let's do this. They really do hammer it down, and I kind of see why now. After 4 or 5 locations, it's sort of, it's pretty noticeable. Oh my God, this won't stop, man, Jesus.
And especially if you put the game down for a day or 2 or more, I can understand why they feel the need to fill you in again, even though you just heard this conversation once, if not twice before. But also, this game was built for portability, right? So they assume that you are playing little bits of it at a time.
Yeah, I need to look at what the average train ride is in Japan. If it's 27 minutes, then that's the gameplay loop, is what they designed it to be. Everybody plays this game for 27 minutes and then put it down for at least a day or the rest of the day, right? It's got to be, and you can see that as you play. And I'll pick on some of the design choices too on the actual gameplay screen again, because we're going to talk about a new mechanic they add once we start getting more soldiers. And I'm this is so obnoxious, this big ass picture here. But I'm because it's a tiny little screen and it's really this tiny little picture when you really break it down, but it has a very distinct purpose. But you're right. It is designed that way, so it's fair. It's a PS2. It's a mini PS2. There should have been more color, man. I don't know. Everything is muddy. It's muddy green, brown, yellow, and then there's black tires, and that's it. And then Snake's yellow stripes on his sneakers, which I still don't understand.
Yeah, it was an interesting marriage of the outdoor elements that we got to see in Snake Eater and the more industrial, we're sneaking through warehouses kind of sneaking gear, right? Or just color palette in general. Portable Ops brought an interesting marriage of those two, I thought, because now that being said though, I recognize that now as we're talking about this, maybe weeks after I've finished the game, I am struggling to differentiate some of the maps from others, as if I didn't have any, and I don't have a video up in front of me or any pictures, I'm struggling to remember sometimes, the Soviet patrol base, for example. Couldn't tell you what that looks like right now, but I know as we talk about it, it'll come up.
Yeah. Well, I tried to do my little lines of it, one line of this is what it looks like, just to help us jog our memory.
Oh, sure. But even then, I mean, like you said, so much of it looks the same, and they can change up the verticality of it as much as they want, and that's fine. But there's so much similarity between building interiors and everything that is outside of those buildings. It's such a similar map, just distributed differently each time. And not to mention, I think this was the point I was getting at earlier, we have to revisit these maps so many times. So
Yeah.
you would think that would hammer it into my memory a bit more, but between the just visiting to recruit people versus a diversion operation versus here's where you're going to collect intel. I mean, you have the potential to see these maps multiple times over, and yet they're still not very distinct from each other to stand out in my memory.
Oh yeah, and that's like, so for people that get the notes, which is a patron reward, I had to like be somewhat fun with the naming of them, because I have like, even just these notes alone, we have Supply Depot and then Supply Depot Redux. Like we have to go back to the same place twice to move the story forward, because if you didn't grab the secret document that tells you where the harbor is, you have to go back anyway. And that's if you didn't move the plot forward to learn about the bombs and all that other stuff, which is nice. So the first place that we have to drop said bomb, and we say bomb, it's TNT. So the good news is, like, if you play the game, and we were talking about the intel piece, like you can actually start sending some of your teammates off to do like intel missions. And you just sort of click right down to every map you've been that had someone go for intel. Hey, we found out here's you can now grab extra meds, or here is new ammo, or here's more ammo, something like that. You could potentially find how to make TNT before you get to this part of the game. Now, the good news is, story-wise, they tell you how to make TNT if you don't already know how to make it. You have to obtain it, but you at least know. Now you can start finding it on the maps, because the intel will tell you, hey, TNT, this is how we're going to do our thing.
I don't recall ever having to have made it, but do you mean you have to have some time for your R&D team to like develop it further?
Yeah, like it's either,
Okay.
I guess it's research and development. Sometimes it's like, oh, hey, you may not be able to, like, you can grab some, like you might not be able to like apply it to your loadout, but you can find it on maps.
Sure.
And then once you find it on a map, then you can apply it to your loadout. I think that's the loop for if you didn't have it ahead of time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's also, too, the fact that once you find it in a map, you can use it. But if you run out of it, yeah, then you have to go back to my R&D team needs to develop this further before I have more.
Right. And we'll get to one of these is pretty solid progression where you can't have just like one or two TNTs. Like you actually need multiple when you are like dropping, like it's a big area that like one bomb isn't going to be enough to like draw attention, because it's such a big map. So here at the Supply Depot, this is like pretty basic though. Like you can just, if you really wanted to, you could run right in. The Supply Depot's to your right, but there's a truck right there. You boop, drop the TNT, blow it up, get the hell out of there. Like super simple. But again, Supply Depot, I think we talked about it last ep. Like that's like the home base, because it's one of the bigger early maps. So you can get in there, you can grab everything you need. You can, grab a bunch of soldiers. You can, like, there's a lot of stuff you can do there. I was definitely cycling between the Supply Depot and the hospital a lot.
Yeah, let me tell you, Warren, I did do everything I could do at the Supply Depot. I truly, as you said, made the Supply Depot my home base. I can't tell. Well, first, let me start off by saying I played this section of the game and a little bit beyond this section of the game 3 times. That's right, 3 times I had to play this section. So I got to know it pretty intimately. I think you streamed it twice,
so multiple people got to see you play it multiple times.
Shout out Alex H. Thank you for being there with me through my struggles. We both just kind of anguished over the fact that I had to play this game 3 fucking times. And
I was your Roy Campbell, like when I could. You're like, damn, this part sucks. I'm like, check this area. Look under the bed.
Oh, all tips were 100% welcomed, because let's just say this, by the time I got to the end of this game, I was ready. I was ready to move on. But that being said, the Supply Depot really did become a familiar spot for me. And every time whether it came to recruiting soldiers or having this diversion mission or what, every time I rolled through there, I had the same course of action and blueprint that I followed. And it was
your paintball map. Yeah, it like perfectly.
Oh yeah, it was, go to the right, pew pew, grab that soldier, bring him back to the truck, go in a little bit further. Like I think I even went into the specifics of this last time, which I won't do it again. But
Sure.
I felt as I left this map every time, I left nothing undone. I recruited every soldier I could. I found every little bit of everything that I could. And that's my home, man. Truth be told, Warren, I kind of miss it there.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'm sure they have like a little like, it's been this many days since Tori has seen us last.
Maybe I'll go rustle up some med kits or something soon.
You have your save file, so you can just run to the supply depot. Like, do you have those kind of saves? So like on Final Fantasy X, I actually have a save so I can play Blitzball whenever I want. On Final Fantasy VIII, I have like to play Triple Triad whenever I want.
I don't
do that in games?
Usually make a habit of doing that, although I will tell you one game outside of the Metal Gear Solid series has forced me into that habit because it's a decision making it's a decision based role playing game, you know what I mean, where every piece of dialogue you choose to select has an impact on the next part of the game. And
gotcha.
And this is the first time that my curiosity got to the best of me, we'll say. And I ended up going down a path and stubbornly sticking to it so hard that I ruined my game.
Oh, Jesus.
So I just ended the game. I think I haven't even played through half of it yet. And I ended up killing my character.
Wow.
Yeah, well, here, I may as well plug it anyway. Shout out Disco Elysium. It's a hilarious and cheeky game.
I didn't want to call you out on it, but I was like, I think you're talking about Disco Elysium.
Yeah, you know.
That was my nomination for a monthly game club that
Attaboy.
Didn't get picked. You all hear me out there. Nobody picks indie games in the damn in the video game club. Well, I'm gonna get my indie game eventually.
Well, it sounded like you just said indie game club, so maybe we need to start one of those now. Hey, welcome to Metal Gear Mondays Revengeance, where we have games club, movies club, and indie games club.
I know. I always have my indie soapbox, but this game, Disco Elysium's so good, and I think we're gonna pick it in March because of the new update. I think it's just gonna naturally get picked in March.
Here's hoping.
So
I'm ready to talk about that game.
Oh,
When we're not designating time to talk about portable ops. Sorry for that diversion.
Some off season. Well, this is what it is, right? When you play this game and you're going into the loop so many times, I'm telling you right now, I had Magic the Gathering on another computer screen. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, this is relaxing. I'm just going through. Sometimes I like that gameplay of just turn your brain off, like RPG grinding. Sometimes it's maybe the loop can get a little frustrating, but sometimes I just want to have enough fucking rations to not have to go back. I just want to have enough so I can load out whenever I need it, because that was my main thing. Is I really only needed rations for most of the game. I was, Mark 22, Hush Puppy, almost exclusively until the part where I was like, if I got to a boss, which we won't be talking about bosses in this app, but I definitely changed up my gameplay because I was like, I don't have the desire to have certain characters in my party later. You know what I mean?
Sorry, Hush Puppy. You're getting put away for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely adopted that strategy as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And it works. And you'll hear about it next story episode, because I believe our next episode after this one will be a character focused, if I'm not mistaken. So we have dropped our first bomb. TNT explodes the truck. It tends to pull some of the attention from the rail bridge. So the plan seems to be working to the point where if you wanted to, we don't have to go into too much detail, but if you actually go back to the rail bridge in between you dropping these bombs, you'll notice one of the buildings doesn't have any people in it. Some of the trucks on the bridge are missing, which is pretty cool. So they actually have physical evidence that your efforts are working, which I don't know if that's a quality of life thing that they did to sort of show your progress. But it worked for me because I was like, oh, motherfuckers, it's actually a different map now. They actually did it. I couldn't believe it.
I thought that was a nice detail, too. I think I first noticed it when, on the actual bridge part, there are originally 2 soldiers stationed there. And then after you do your first diversion, there's only 1 there on the bridge. And then I think the next one to go is the guy in the building across from your bridge path. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, the first one you would run into because he's doing rounds or whatever, right by the beginning of the map. Yep, I totally agree.
Yeah, I appreciated that. It's those little pieces of continuity that we've come to know and love from Kojima games. that you wouldn't necessarily expect, and maybe they don't add that much to the overall game, but they're just nice little drops of, oh, they cared to pay attention to that.
Yeah, and I it is that storytelling we kind of talk about. Like, it's probably not necessary, but it does go a long way. It's like in the moments of, we didn't have to get Campbell telling us again, hey man, that plan is really working. You know, like I didn't need that again. It was nice to have a visual storytelling, you know, as well.
You know, for such a fan servicey thing like bringing Campbell into this game, which I know only makes sense due to the story, but for as exciting as that moment was at the beginning of the game, they really made you start to get annoyed with Roy Campbell after.
I thought that too. I was trying to be like, but it's Campbell. I was trying to be fair. You know what I mean? But yeah, you're totally right. Campbell is like the Navi of. Oh yeah. Like, Mega Man. Like, that's really what it feels like.
And it's constantly. It's not like he isn't that way in Metal Gear Solid 2, but it's like to another level in Portable Ops.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I guess I'm trying to think in Metal Gear Solid 1, when we get to it, there is some Campbell's position. Like, holy shit, he does go into like 27-minute codec calls.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
I mean, they sneak in Mei Ling too. And sometimes it's for comedy. So, like, I'll give it that. This doesn't really have that because there's no audible. Most of this Roy Campbell stuff we're talking about is reading text. It's not audible. Like, oh, okay. Like, you don't have to watch the screen because you can listen to a story being told to you while you're making breakfast or making your bed or getting dressed or whatever. But this, you have to like look. You have to be fixated on the screen to know the story and hit fucking X to move it forward.
I know. God.
Yeah. So like, I get, again, portability. We get it. Why would you be on a train and not paying attention? You don't want to be on a train of 100 people with like, press the action button to like. You want it to be quiet because you probably don't want to bother anybody. You know. So I get it. It's just.
Well, not only that, but
from a talking about it on a podcast standpoint, I don't know if it works great.
Sure. I don't know. Trying to think about it and its portability. I would think that in lieu of having those long cutscenes that Kojima really loves to have, if you're thinking portably, it probably is better to have dialogue that you can just click through, because I don't think I've ever been more frustrated than when my wife or somebody else tries to talk to me during a cutscene.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
it's anxiety. It's so anxious where I'm like, I can't miss this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I really like that thing you got from Marshall's. It looks very nice on you.
Let's talk about it later.
You can hear the cutscene, right? You can hear it. I missed it. I got to watch it again.
Oh, now, and I have to load it up on YouTube because I'm not going to go back to another. You know what? Just
exactly.
Just let's talk later.
Dinner's at 6. All right. Dinner's at 6.
One more thing I did want to say, though, speaking along these lines, I think, again, it was Alex H. who was on the stream with me when I was playing this. Roy Campbell's voice actor for Portable Ops did an amazing job of matching Paul Eiding's like mannerisms while speaking and just the overall character of Roy Campbell. I thought he did an awesome job.
I feel like that's like all around the cast. It to the point where it is a compliment, but it made the fact that there wasn't that many voice acted cutscenes noticeable because the voice acted stuff is really good. Like, it really does have like people that are really focusing on like, I mean, like I said, we talk about the story. Those story bits are really good. They're juicy. Like, you're like, I'm legitimately interested, and the artwork's fucking dope. Like, we've talked about that before, but like a lot of that, it does make it very noticeable when you don't get it for a very long time.
Right. It makes getting to those points worth it, I think, personally. I know there was a lot of grinding to be done in this game, and for those huge fans of Snake Eater diving into this game next, I'm sure there were a lot of disappointing moments, but those cutscenes were very worthwhile.
Sure. Oh, definitely. I think so, a ton. Like, that, probably most of them, like, outside of some of the boss fights, which, again, we'll get to, some of the best parts of the game are the cutscenes of this. Like, I was like, damn, this is really good. Like, it's almost like a book. Like, it was just like, oh, I love this chapter of Metal Gear. Like, this is a great little in between. You know, it's like you don't need it, but it's good enough to like you shouldn't pass it over. If that makes sense.
I 100% agree. I think that it might be repeated as we move through the episodes of this season, but as far as was this game needed? Maybe not, but I'm happy that it exists, and I am happy that I'm now playing an installment of the series that I never would have considered playing originally. Obviously, like, I didn't have a PSP, so there was really no way that I was going to play it. But it is a worthwhile game, and if there's anybody out there waffling on it, and if you have the means to play it, I would recommend it. It's a valuable addition to the overall series, whether it's groundbreaking or not. And it's not really, so.
Yeah. But for the time, and the PSP is sort of cult following now of like how cool this unit actually was by the end of it. But let's move on with a little story, shall we? So we've done the supply depot multiple times between the both of us. We have dropped our bomb, and we are learning that the next map, at least that I went through, so I tried, you can go in any order. The next one that I ended up doing was the town.
Likewise.
And I would probably say that as far as map progression, this was probably one of my favorites. As far as like doing the supply depot a lot, the hospital a lot, like a lot of that. This map was pretty cool, and it felt a lot bigger. Like it felt like it grew exponentially in comparison to previous maps.
Agreed.
Still looks the same gray, green, mud colored colors, but I still enjoyed how much it was, and I really loved, again, like we previously talked about, you may not even have enough TNT on you to complete the mission when you roll up, let alone know where you have to drop multiple charges, which is pretty cool. Like I appreciated that. And the challenge of, well, you already dropped a TNT charge, and if you blew it up already, clearly something's going to be up in the town. They're going to be looking for who dropped the bomb.
Let's talk about this.
You don't have to, but yeah. So go ahead. Let me catch me up. What do you got?
Well, so there's a couple things you said there that I'm surprised about because I didn't know any other way. I didn't know, one, that there was any target which required more than one charge, or two, how to detonate TNT beyond the placing of one. So, for example, after I placed one, it was my understanding that the next thing you could do is detonate it before you could place another one. Is that wrong?
Right.
Were you able to find out?
No, you're correct, but I would get to the next spot and then detonate and reapply. So I didn't have to sneak much. The only challenge was the last one. But by that point, before I blew up any TNT, I was Sandman. I went in, snuck around. I was like crawling underneath. Like I said, the map was pretty cool. There are a lot of windows, like a lot of lines of sight, which is pretty cool. We did kind of pick on the AI before. It's not a lot of like immediate alert, but a lot of like, huh? Like they noticed something's out the window, but you could easily get away if you knew your escape route, like how to get back to your safe spot.
Yes, but in this, here's a comical self-defense.
Go ahead, yeah.
with the like lack of camera control, I found that if they did see me, more often than not, I was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And I was really tense about getting away when, the more you sink into a game, the more comfortable you get kind of maneuvering around and getting yourself out of alert phases. But in the beginning of this game, especially, if they ever saw me, I was running like yards away around corners, like way further probably than I needed to.
Just as far as possible. That's amazing. Yeah, they had some good crawl points that you could get to. Like I definitely I was super fucking patient. I would just, if they wanted to, I would just pop them in the leg and just wait and just fucking chill, have a Dorito, whatever I want to do to relax until I heard the and I was like, all right, let's go. Let's drag your ass out. Let's go. Let's move on to the next guy. Like, oh, yeah. Oh, dude, the spicy nacho Doritos. Are you kidding me?
Oh, you know what? A little side note. This, what is it, like spicy chili the sweet chili? The sweet chili Doritos. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the purple bag's pretty legit. I'll give you that.
So good. This has been our what do you call it? Product placement. This has
Yeah,
been
sponsored by Frito-Lay.
Oh, I wish we could say that. I don't think we can say that, Warren.
We can make jokes about it. Absolutely. This is parody. Come on. Frito-Lay loves us. Brought to you by Doritos. Once you pop, the fun don't crunch.
Well, there you go. I was going to say that's totally a different brand, but let's go with it. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. So the only thing I did, the other thing I wanted to mention that I did like about this, because it did take longer than I wanted, but I appreciated the size of the map. I got a little bit of MGS2 vibes a little bit just because of multiple bombs and like sort of plotting your course and paying attention, because I do like the map. I think we talked about like the menu design and a lot of like the quality of life choices in the art design and things like that. I don't know if we talked about the map very much. The map is super minimal, but I did like they have the markers of like if you find intel or find a guard or you have like another recruit ready to, they're in their hiding spot, like their safe place or whatever they call it. And they have it all, it's all marked on the map for you. Like this is a potential safe spot because there's no guards on patrol here or anything like that. Like I really appreciated that. So as I was going through the map, or more stuff would open, more circles would show up of like, hey, this is a clear zone if you're good. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, clear. Okay, let's get Jonathan over here. Let's get my tiger keelback. Like all these weird guys that just do whatever. Like what, mouse terrier, like the weirdest names, koala.
Mouse terrier. That's a good one.
Yeah. So they have, like I really appreciate that. And like I said, I got a little bit of MGS2 vibes just because I was like, oh, right. Like we're looking for, we're doing multiple bomb things. And I don't know, I guess because while I was playing this, we were doing our interviews and stuff. And there was a lot of MGS2 chat with some of our interviews. So I guess it was like top of mind. But I like this map a lot. The town was probably as far as, I don't know if it's my favorite of all of the maps, but it was a really welcome sight after doing like the first 5 maps.
Oh, sure.
This felt like, all right, we are really progressing.
Yeah,
through,
this is new territory, and it's also evident of how much closer we're getting to what we need, because there are more guards and it's getting more difficult to sneak by them without some means of taking them out. And like you mentioned earlier, Warren, once you blow that first charge, like your strategy is either, probably in Warren's case, to become extra sneaky, to either take out the guards first, to become much more patient than you might even feel comfortable with.
I am the sneakiness.
Or if your strategy was anything like mine, where you threw patience out the window, fuck. Yeah, it was a race against time at that point, a race against the clock and the soldiers, where you crawl under a truck or you place it in its correct spot, you blow the charge as you're running to the next truck, and you just hope that nobody tags you too many times so that you die before you... Because, as soon as you blow that third truck, the mission's over. You get out of there safely, no matter whether you're on an alert or not. So definitely...
You could literally have 5 guards around you, and they're like, hero!
I definitely took advantage of that fact, because... Sure. Again, guys, 3 fucking times I played this game. I was trying to move and groove through this mission.
And it's, like I said, it is a time-consuming one if you want to, which, again, could be rewarding for some. But I get it. And I had to mention, I was like, damn, this one took this. I think I spent the most time at the town on my first, first try. Like, I think the hospital was probably if I had to map out my time, because again, all rations all day, because I would run out of stamina while I was playing.
Well,
that's how long I'd stay on these maps. So I'm like, pop another ration, let's go. Like, I'm not fucking stopping.
They make you look for 3 different. Well, that's for another time, but they make you. Yeah. Or did we already cover that? Yeah, we already covered that in the last episode.
Yeah, that's that was my loop, was so I can get rations, was the medical base a lot.
Well, not that so much as when you're looking for Roy's medicines, they make you check 3 spots.
Yes,
and are like, it wasn't there. Oh well, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, your medicine's at another castle. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Thanks for that. It's just little moments like those that had me frustrated with this game, but I feel like had I not had to replay certain parts of it 3 times, I probably would have been less annoyed by stuff like that.
Sure. definitely. And I think that's part of the pacing too, because at now, like normally some parts that would get annoying, you're talking like an hour of gameplay, you might not just be like, fucking whatever, let's go. But now when you get to the town, you're at like two-ish. Like sometimes it's not as easy to just redo that in one single session.
Right.
If you keep fucking it up, like you can't just if the patience is sort of gone, that's almost like the difficulty, you know, like how sometimes they have like difficulty barriers in a game. Like, yeah, you can play this casually until like this boss, and you have to pay attention. You have to check, like, remember we told you how to use this? Like, you got to use this to, like, that the town sort of felt like that for me in a good way. Like, I actually did appreciate it, but I wasn't in your shoes, unfortunately.
Well, and you bring up
fortunately,
another solid point. This game is really one of those that shows you how you can be your worst enemy if you choose to play it one way, or you can just cool your jets for a minute, be patient, observe, and really sneak around as the game intends for you to do. And I constantly, now that I'm at the mic for the second game of our show, I'm constantly finding myself going, God damn it, I should really just calm down and like play this game how it's supposed to be played.
Right. Like basically my thoughts immediately. Like I am like the poster child of like, yes, Daddy Kojima, I will do what you tell me. Like I really am. I'm like, this is a sneaking game. I will fucking sneak until I have snuck more than I've ever snucked before. Like I will do everything I can. If I suck at it, I'll get better. Like that's how if I can't sneak, I don't resort to like, fuck this. I'm like, I will do better. Like I'm a Dark Souls player. This is a challenge. I will defeat this challenge.
Sure.
Go figure it out. It doesn't have to be done quickly, but it will be done sneakily.
Eventually I get to that point too. I'm sorry for talking over you.
No, you're fine.
Eventually I get to that point too where you already know within 30 seconds of the mission whether you fucked it up, so you start it over. You know that?
Yeah.
Like I do get to that level. And this is where I'm really wishing that Chris was here to tell us that he just pulled out his shotgun and blasted people away left and right.
Well, that's the thing is, so like I know we're going to chat with him. He's going to give us like his final stuff, because I get the feeling this one didn't do that for him. So little peek behind the curtain, we try not to talk about our gameplay experiences until we're on mic, because I don't want to know everything these guys are going to say, and I don't want them to know how I feel about the game already either, outside of like some, like you can sort of read my notes and tell when I get frustrated, because maybe some misspellings, some fucking extra notes in there or something like that. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I think this was a nice surprise for Chris. So by the time, you know, who knows by the time we're recording these, but when he does come back, I might just be like, hey man, want to take like 15 and just give us a quick catch up on what we have already talked about? Because I want to hear like, this part sucked. I fucking love this part. This boss was a pain in the ass, or whenever he's officially back, we're going to have to. So Chris, when you're listening to this, sorry man, call to action. There you go.
Yeah, no, I'm really interested too, as I'm sure our listeners will be, because you and I got to hear him say, okay, maybe I feel differently about this game now that I've given it some time. And I think that was probably true for all of us to some extent. I know certainly it was true for me. Yeah,
I would say that only because I was surprised how that one really turned me around when I was like, I was legitimately invested in more than one character. And normally, if I don't like a story of a game, it's because I can't identify with multiple people. You know what I mean? So yeah, so we blew up the town, making a lot of progress. The next, we gather intel. That's going to be like I wish I could tell you guys where you find that intel. Again, we're not a walkthrough podcast, but you gather intel, and we learn about the Soviet patrol base. Now, the patrol base, this one's a little different. This one was like a silo, if that helps. It's like a lot of metal, and it's like a lot of like vertical, so you can get a lot of vantage, and you could like pick off guards from above, which was pretty cool. You could easily you could crawl under stuff. So there was like the big metal tanks. You could crawl under the metal tank and at least see all the feet of like all the guards. Some could be like 100 yards away. Some could be 15 yards away. And then you can get up like near this and like get them in the shoulder or the head if you're good enough, which was pretty dope. So I like that. And then you just go to the armory. You got to get to your little red box with a star because they tell you, go here. Success point. Drop the bomb, blow it up. How did the Soviet patrol base treat you?
It wasn't so bad. It took me a few it took me more attempts than I care to admit to realize that I was getting caught by the person up on the what looked like a little guard tower. Once I finally recognized that he was up there and was able to take care of him before I got in his line of sight, things went a lot more smoothly. This was another map that I chose to clear out as many guards as I could before getting to that armory. Just because, I think another huge part of this game that we haven't given a whole lot of conversation time to is the building of your units. And I think about this time I was getting greedy for spies, and I wanted to have multiple spies in each location that felt pertinent in order to develop and, find extra missions and whatever it is that you can do.
Right.
By
so you
filling
needed
this
Weasel.
out.
You needed to find Weasel.
Weasel. I know I had Weasel in there.
Yeah.
Truth be told, I can't remember who I got where and where. I'm really happy for the fact that you could just read a little bit of their bio, and it legit tells you, place them here. This is their strength.
Oh, yeah.
It's
here. Like, hey, because they're telling you, like, hey, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
Like, they have a career. Like, hey, I was a comm specialist on this base. Yeah, I recommend putting me here. Like, and these are my good, like, and their stats are wild, like A, C, B, B, C, C, like, and it's just like, I'm good at these three things. I recommend doing that because I like that part of my job, kind of. That was cool, and it felt streamlined. It didn't feel clunky. Outside of how there was a lot of them, but it didn't feel clunky in the design of it. So definitely,
right, which is why I was always eager to do it. I mean, even at this point, we're probably approaching the half point of the game at this point, right? The midpoint.
Yeah, give or take. Like, we're probably, like, this next area is, like, kind of the beefiest part of this section, I guess you want to call it, of the game. And probably by the end of that, we're, like, as far as time, especially if you grinded and, like, did the pickup, you're definitely halfway through this game, if not more.
And that was the experience I had. I was trying to pick up soldiers left and right. And even to this point in the game, I found I was still happy to take time and pick out soldiers that I could definitely place in certain points, because I wanted to develop certain things, like what was one thing I needed to develop? Oh, the Mazen-Nagant, or the Mosin-Nagant, however you want to say that.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, that's a very long way to answer. The Soviet patrol base went fine. I recruited some soldiers, and then I got to the armory, and it wasn't really a struggle. It was pretty basic.
Nice. Well, that's good.
Yeah. How about you, Warren? How did it go for you?
Good. I liked it. It took me like one or two tries to sort of, like, again, realize, like, where the pesky, annoying person was that either would catch me early or would, like, break my flow. And I was like, all right, I got to get rid of that guy first, and then I'll move on. Especially because I didn't have to keep pulling people back to the truck, or, doing the recon where someone can take them back to the truck. By this point, I was like, I have a shit ton of people, and if I need them, I'll take them. But I wasn't like, I had enough to get through. Like, I had, my 3 or 4 people for every team. I think it's 3 full teams, so you should probably build to 12, and then maybe like 2 or 3 more to have, like, some so you can, like, move them out in case someone gets sick or whatever. But otherwise, yeah, like, I thought it was it was kind of refreshing after the town, because it was more like an armory isn't necessarily massive. It's just heavily guarded, tight spot, because that's where all the guns are. So I was like, okay, makes sense. Like, it's still story, like, the story is why, or, like, the game design explain. It doesn't feel like they didn't have enough room for a map. Armories aren't massive. Like, that's the whole point of an armory, is you want it small, but you can keep it super tight security.
Condensed, yeah.
Yes.
And they did a nice job of that, because I think by the time I got to the armory, I had either snuck past or recruited or, kidnapped. Let's call it what it is.
Right, yeah.
kidnapped about 4 soldiers. And it's not a very, from starting point to end point, you don't cover a lot of ground. So it was pretty dense in terms of guard placement.
Right.
And I guess that was the challenge of this map. It wasn't so much finding your location or getting there. It was just, where are these guards? How am I going to get around them?
Totally agree. So now we have completed our mission, which was thin the herd enough out at the rail bridge so that we could make our way to what we learn is we want to get to the harbor. So as we go, we thin everything out. We get to the rail bridge. It's pretty thin. There's about 2 guards, maybe left, 3 guards. You technically don't have to knock them out, but you run right across the bridge. You get your little red star, and we finally get to what we learned about what Elisa was warning us about. So we see that we're learning about all kinds of shit now. Like, so we met that there's a soldier. We're meeting all these new characters, and it's, I don't know, it's interesting, but again, it was very like, okay, like we got to what we wanted, because basically we were trying to find out what the fuck Gene was doing with all the supplies that we've been hunting for, and they crossed the bridge. So we want to get to the harbor because we're assuming they're going to ship it out. So that's the intent. I did put in that I like this map. Again, it was a big map, but again, starting to look like just art design wise looked a lot similar. But I really did enjoy, there was a lot of stuff going on in the harbor. Obviously, we learned pretty quickly you just have to go down. Like, there's a big ramp that gets you down to like the docks, I guess. Mm-hmm. But there was a lot of cool stuff you could sort of, I wouldn't say I found like new like weapons or anything, but there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of collectibles that could help you on future missions. None of it was new, but it was at least, all helpful stuff. You found everything you probably needed because of what's coming, in the near future. Kojima games, when I start realizing I'm grabbing all the stuff that I might need for a boss fight. Boss fights are probably coming up soon. So I'm definitely at that point where I'm like, okay, yep, thank you, Daddy Kojima. I will have everything I need to have. But we make our way down to the bottom.
If I can stop you for a second.
Yeah, I was just going to say, go for it. So catch me up on the harbor.
Well, I just wanted to clarify before we move too much further. This is the one that kind of looks like a canyon, right? You've got like land bridges to a center.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, yeah, that's correct.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure we're talking about the same place.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't know that I had a lot of commentary for this place. I explored just about every corner of it that I could before moving on.
Yeah.
Pretty standard sneak past your guards to get to your location mission.
Agreed. All right. Now this is where we meet. I kind of really dig this guy. So we make our way down the harbor, and we meet Colonel Skoronsky. And I say meet. We meet as in Snake is like interrupting a conversation between 2 people we don't technically know who they are yet, but we almost immediately, I think Colonel Skoronsky says like, I'm Colonel Skoronsky, like he says it immediately, who he is. And he is your typical, like, just not drunk, I would say, but he just looks very disheveled. He's seen many winters. Just a Russian colonel that is like, don't fucking tell me how to do my job. I'll get my troops here. We're going to get this place like lickety split how it should be. Because again, we know that the San Geronimo Peninsula was this sort of like Russian site that sort of got forgotten with everything that has gone on after the Cuban Missile Crisis and everything. And he calls the other person he's talking to a Yankee dog. I did like the voice acting in this. His voice is cool as shit. And he's very calm. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, there's a pretty imposing guy in front of him. And we'll describe him in a second as they show how fucking badass this particular character is. But he's just very like, about face. Who are you? Who's your commanding officer? Like, he's all facts. He doesn't give a shit who this fucking guy with little points in his head and fucking Kevlar armor, like, it's insane. And they sort of have like a mini argument, and the other soldier there has like this really dope voice. And the colonel just starts shooting an AK at this guy, just unloads a clip, and they all, not only do they bounce off of this character, but they are like frozen solid. Like they hit, freeze, and then drop to the ground, which is insane. And this person grabs the gun of the colonel, freezes it in his hand, and also freezes the colonel's arm that's holding the gun, and rips it clean off. Just like, holy shit. So, oh my God. So the soldier he thought he was going to run into was our Snake, and ended up being this colonel guy, right? We then, basically, the Russian colonel gets thrown into, we'll just say a cage. I can't say prison. He's in prison, but there's like a cage at the bottom of the harbor. Just sort of lying there because they need to, like, I'm assuming there's live cargo that they would keep sometimes. And we learn that this other soldier not only is named Python, but he actually has a past with Snake, that they were soldiers together. And we won't have to go like crazy into detail because we will discuss not only Python during like his boss fight, but we also are going to do a bad guys episode while we're releasing these. But essentially, Python says in the cutscene that whatever happened to him in battle and training, he can't control his body temperature. It constantly rises uncontrollably. So he wears essentially this liquid nitrogen suit that regulates his body temperature, and he can weaponize the liquid nitrogen. So he basically, I'm assuming he can't feel pain, basically, if you're doing that sort of temperature. I can't imagine liquid nitrogen allows you to have any nerve endings at that point.
Probably not.
But he is a fucking cool design. And we don't have to go, like I said, we don't have to go too crazy into it. But as far as like finally meeting like a mini boss, like we're gonna fucking fight that guy later. Like, you're gonna fucking fight that guy later. What do you think of these two characters?
So I had the same thought. We're about to, if not soon, we're going to encounter Python again later. I think maybe on my first viewing of that cutscene, or maybe that was the only viewing of that cutscene, honestly, because I didn't remember that bit about his body temperature constantly rising, and I'm now kind of marveling at that. And also being reminded of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze.
Yes. Oh my God. The freeze puns. We might, you know what? Maybe we will. We might just drop like 2 or 3 freeze puns.
Just cue it here.
I can get you. Yeah, I can get you a nice list of that. But there's some shitty ones.
Yes, let's go. So the only notable things I think for this bit for me is that Skowronski gets his ass handed to him by Python, and I don't know, it made me chuckle a little bit. I feel like there's always got to be a little bit of that going on in Metal Gear. All I really caught of his backstory was that he was a fighter pilot, and a fighter pilot of some prestige, if I'm not mistaken. So being knocked down a peg seems to be new for him. Other than that, I wasn't sure that I really cared very much about his character. I don't think we ever see him again after this cutscene. Do we?
Yeah.
We do? Okay.
I think we do, yeah. I'm pretty sure we do.
Okay.
If I can
then
remember back.
It's not memorable to me.
Oh, no. He's got his moments, but again, he's just more like, and there's another guy that's on your team.
Yeah.
You know, like, so, but yeah, so this part I did like. So now we, find our way down to that cage. So we want to talk to Skowronski. He has a little bit of insight on what the fuck is going on here, because they said nobody knew about this place, or Russia's not coming. And this guy's just like, I'm going to call Russia. Like, we're going to get our fucking people here. What the hell is going on here? So, yeah, you're going to have a little chat with him. And I like that he basically says, Gene has been here for 4 weeks, okay? and already like started to make an army. Like that's unheard of. Like something, again, the last time we talked about Gene, something is going on. Like something, people are listening to him for some reason, and we don't know why. We already know that someone's a crazy psychic. Now we got a guy that has to cool his body with liquid nitrogen. You know, like there's obviously crazy shit going on. But there's a pretty cool concept, because again, we won't get on our soapboxes here, but the Colonel sort of goes into like how fear and greed, manipulating like to get people to like buy into your shit through those means is like fucked up and not cool. Which is weird coming from a Russian soldier in the 70s, but hey, whatever. It still seems fishy though. Like I still don't understand what's going on with Gene. He's got dope people following him around, but still we've seen him talk and people listen, which is interesting in its own way.
And not much more. There's really no other display of his power other than he really commands an audience.
Yeah,
you know,
and he looks dope in that jacket.
Sure,
I'll give him credit there. That jacket is dope. But yeah, you're right. He just seems like he's like the boss that doesn't do his lackeys do everything. Like, yeah, I'll do it myself. You know, like he's not that kind of guy.
So yeah, at this point, I too am really curious about what is so special about this guy that people are like. Even Jonathan at the beginning of all of this, before he figured out who Big Boss was, he was adamant in his position, in his stance defending Gene, because he really believed in what Gene was saying.
Right. Yeah, and maybe we don't know if it's true or not. Like, we don't know if what he's doing is for the right reasons at this point. We don't know Gene's motivations other than like gathering these troops to stand for their own thing. That's it. Like, we have a goal, and here's what we're going to do. We don't know how the Fox unit's involved, CIA, any of that. We know they're involved because Roy's there, Cunningham's there, Elisa's there. You know, like there's a lot of like stuff going on, but nothing is coming together yet, which is fine. It's not clunky. It's just intrigue at this point.
Yeah, agreed.
So the cutscene's over, and we get back to our current mission. So I definitely cleaned house. I went across the whole harbor and looked for the warehouse. And in the warehouse, there is a very obvious cargo container that looks totally different than every other cargo container, which I guess is just game design. But as far as how they treat it, the reason why it looks so different is because it has American labels on it. It's the only piece of cargo within the entire warehouse there that has American labels on it. And we open it up and we find out it was a prototype headed for Vietnam, and it looks to be armored tank parts of something highly volatile, but it's empty. So we don't know what it is, but we know that it was filled with something of that, relation. And as soon as you're sort of like, well, what could this be? We get a codec call. We think it's Campbell. And it's a character that he asks to be called Ghost. And I got some Deep Throat vibes. I got some, Miller vibes. I love sort of the intrigue of like, we're not going to know who this person is. But he thanks Snake for killing Volgan. So right off the bat, either we would assume he's Russian, right? Because Snake's a hero for killing Volgan. So if he's thanking him, could be CIA, could be somebody like that as well. But the character, as they're talking, Ghost is basically saying like all the shit that happened in MGS3. Like Ghost knows everything about MGS3. He talks about the Shagohod, talks about the Metal Gear. He basically mentions that Gene is probably trying to weaponize a new version of Metal Gear based on Granin's designs. He's name dropping all these people from MGS3, which is like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, how does this person know so much? And really, I don't know if I really knew who it was by what they were talking about. I had like maybe 5 people that were on my list, and we don't have to do the list here. But how did you feel about this obvious codec call that happens a lot in Metal Gear games? But how did you feel about this particular one? I personally liked it.
I mean, yeah, it was par for the course for sure in terms of what you'd expect from a Metal Gear game. That is not a complaint by any means. Just, yeah, okay, we're getting some secret intel from our secret admirer, as per usual.
There's mines there.
And for a game that it's easy to be dissatisfied with the lack of voice acting. Here is one part that would not have worked if these codec calls were voice acted, in my opinion.
Sure.
Unless they did some sort of layering over the voice.
Yeah, like
actors.
voice modulation or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I did appreciate that part being a bit of a mystery. I think, at this point in the game, I had a couple names in mind too, and I was okay with putting it aside until I found out. I didn't find myself going, well, God damn it, who is that?
Yeah. I will say I did like that this is where they sort of like dropped the Metal Gear bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh shit, we might be fucking with a Metal Gear in this game, like for reals. So again, we got to hunt for these nuclear warheads, but unfortunately, we're not going to talk about where we're going to head to find those nuclear warheads until next episode. Yeah, sorry, got to do a little bit of cliffhangy there. But this will wrap up another episode of Metal Gear Mondays Revengeance Portable Ops Edition. Overall, how did you like this section of the game, Tori?
So for the third time, I had my strategy honed, and it was enjoyable. Yeah, I think had it been the first time, if I'd have only given this part one playthrough, I probably would have felt like it lasted a little longer than I wanted it to.
Sure.
The second time, I was like, okay, here I go again, but I'm also discovering new things. The third time, I was like, okay, let's just fucking go. But I did feel like I played the game much better on my third playthrough. So, yeah, all of that being said, I didn't hate it.
Nice. Well, I think that's a good thing. And I totally agree. Like I said, this is where I started getting a little nervous. Like the pacing was starting to I really thought by this point we were going to fight a boss or get more intrigue. But right at the end of this section, we get like a Russian soldier, we get Python, we learn more about Gene, we hear fucking Metal Gear, we get a guy back from MGS3, potentially, like someone that clearly knows what the fuck is going on. So that I liked. I was like, oh, okay, so we have an idea here, right? Like we have something that we're going to have moving forward. So at least it does make for good like game design of like, all right, I want to move forward with the game. Like I want to move forward with the story. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, I agree.
But overall, I did like this section. There, like I said, it was a little samey, but the maps were better. I definitely appreciated the town. I appreciated the other parts, and it didn't feel too much of a slog moving forward. Because I also wasn't spending as much time because I didn't have to. I was very happy with the amount of people I had on my team at that point.
That's another thing I learned through 3 playthroughs of one section of a game. I didn't have to recruit as many people as I did on plays number 1 and 2. By the time I got to the third play, I was like, all right, I'll get 4 more guys. Place them here. We're good. I'm not doing this shit anymore.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, sometimes that helps because where you think it's supposed to be, oh my God, I got to play for 5 more hours, and really it's 1.5.
Sure.
Because you know what to do now and all that. But yeah, so thanks again for listening. And again, tune in. The episode that we're going to drop after this, we are going to have a Ryan Payton interview is going to be sprinkled in during these episodes, as well as a character-focused episode. So unfortunately, there will not be much story for a couple weeks. So don't be mad about it, but it's good talk. It's all portable ops talk. So
that, and when we do get back to story, it's going to be beefy.
Yes. Now, yeah, I will say the wheels are going to start rolling really fast for the next few episodes of now that, yeah, we're basically, once we hit that halfway point, we get that first boss fight, it's quick. Like it moves at a really nice clip, which is great for the game. But yeah, so again, thanks guys for listening, downloading. please rate and review whenever you guys have an opportunity. If you have the opportunity, it does go a long way, and we do make it a point to talk to anybody that wants to give feedback and reach out. Like, we just really appreciate even some of the constructive words, but mostly kind words, which we very much appreciate. If you are interested, we do have merch, bit.ly/MGM store. By the time you guys hear this, we probably will have a couple more options on there, which will be great. Some new artwork, some new stuff that'll be dropping. Patreon, again, we cannot thank the patrons enough, and we have really been having a good time of just finding new ways to, even if it's not just content for our patrons, it's just engagement with the patrons. So a lot of banter, a lot of talk, video games, movies, books, like a lot of anime talk recently, which is like right up my alley. But it's just really fun. Like, just in the Discord, it's just a super great way to do it. And we are trying to find new ways to just engage and have fun with our patrons. So that would be Patreon at Metal Gear Mondays. Twitter at Metal Gear Monday. Gotta love that limit. Otherwise, we're at Metal Gear Mondays on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. Feel free to like and follow. I will start dropping YouTube. Hello, YouTube. We have a YouTube channel as well. If you guys do want to subscribe, we're going to try and start adding more content to it. But basically, we do also put our podcast on the YouTube feed as well. But we do have a few like YouTube exclusive listeners. Like, they use YouTube as their audio way to listen to the podcast. So thank you to you guys. And we are definitely going to make sure that they drop same day for everyone now, just because I appreciate that you guys listen to it as your main feed. I'm just not used to that being the old guy of the group, but we hear you, we see you, we feel you, we love you, we got you. As far as the internets, where can people find you, Tori?
You can find me, I don't know. Lately looking at a lot of Metal Gear videos on YouTube.
Nice.
Sometimes posting pictures of my pup that we got on Halloween on Instagram at Young Neil. Mostly posting Metal Gear Mondays updates on Facebook under my name, Tori Cortez. And Twitter, every once in a while I poke in and say something that has almost no value. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, that's also Young Neil. It's YNGNEIL. That about does it.
Nice. You can find me at Warren Minix on all the platforms. I'm not really too engaged there. I do have a band. Fingers crossed 2021 is a much more welcoming than 2020 was for our music. We do have an album on Spotify. You're more than welcome to listen. We'd appreciate it. Spooky Forest on Spotify. Give it a look. Give it a listen. Outside of that, we are 2 eps into Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, and I think that it's time to let her rip, Jack.